Hey everyone, it is Rashni of glamazini.com, bringing you light and laughter per usual. I am trying to see if I am live right now, so give me 1 second to check the checker while I drop links where the links go. Um, I'm a little discombobulated because I was just, let me see, let me refresh and see if this is showing up as me live. Doody doo doo. Give me 1 second, you guys. There I am. All right, let's get to going. Hey everyone, it is Rushni. And today I want to talk to you guys about Black women and stress. That's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, I was changing my light and my seat and everything until the very last minute. So I feel like I'm weirdly positioned in the shot, but we're going to go for it. All right, we're going to go for it. Hopefully, you guys are creating an incredible Friday. All right. I usually go live on Facebook in my Find Your Light coaching community. However, last week Facebook decided that my emoji game was enough to lock my account down. So, anywho, we are live on YouTube, and we're gonna make it do what it do. If it's one thing YouTube has not done, it has not blocked me. Hi, Charmaine. Hi. How are you? Okay, so let's get started. All I want to do today is chop it up about being a Black woman and things that cause us stress. And the reason why is because I feel like often we are not given an opportunity to really hone in on our experience in this way. And then at the end, um, I'm going to tell you guys some of the ways that I believe we can actually alleviate said stressors. Okay. The first thing before I start to is if you are part of my Vibely community, my coaching community on Vibely, um, I have a live meetup. I'm meeting with all the ladies tomorrow, Saturday, March 19th at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, just so that I can have a call for ideas for coaching topics. So if you have ever wanted to coach with me and you want me to talk about a specific thing with you in a more like exclusive situation, tomorrow, Vibely, go right here, glamazini.com/coaching. All right, you guys, and click on Vibely. It's free. Just sign up. I will let you in. We are meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time on Saturday, just to so you can tell me what you need support with. That's all it's about. All right, let's talk about Black women and stress. I actually have notes here, and this does not have to be one-sided. I need you guys to chime in and tell me things that cause stress in your life. Okay. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say before I move on is these things are not exclusive to Black women, but I am centering Black women in this conversation. So clearly, everything I say could potentially um, apply to someone else who is not a Black person. This is a beautiful opportunity if you are not a Black woman to listen and glean and learn and not center yourself. It's just something you have to practice. So that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down notes. I listen, this was actually not a hard thing for me to do, you guys, because all week long, I literally just had my notepad next to me. And every time I thought about something that stressed me out, I wrote it down. All right. So I want you guys to chime in too. So let's start. The first thing I think that is a particular stressor for the Black woman experience, okay, especially what I have experienced, is we ignore trauma. We ignore trauma. So, of course, I was sitting here and I was thinking, what's trauma, Rashni? And my first thought is trauma is distress, distress. Um, and we as a community have a tendency to ignore things that distress us. I know that for me, I was, uh, it was almost like I was raised to not even notice or to push through. That's the word I'm going to do. It's a community sentiment of the push through. All right. The pain is part of your purpose. And, you know, you were given this pain so that you can run on, and all of those types of sentiments. And so because of that, I find that it's a commonly held mindset that when we are distressed, not only is it diminished by others outside of our community, but it is diminished by other Black women in our community who aren't doing their work. And we have a tendency to ignore our own distress and trauma. Okay? Trauma is not just you hurt your arm. Trauma is not just a car accident, you guys. That's physical trauma. All right? The physical trauma of a car accident is I hurt my arm, I hit my head, I have a concussion. But we are a three-part being. And so there is mental trauma and there is spiritual trauma. Okay? You can be traumatized from a car accident by becoming afraid of driving, right? Or you could be traumatized from a car accident because the reason you were in the car accident is because you were in there arguing with your spouse and y'all ended up flipping the car or driving off of something. And we press through. And I don't know, I just kind of want to shine a light on the press through, you guys, and let you guys know that that is something that's stressing us out. And we don't have to do that. Part of what I think I'm going to start doing on my platform is just sitting in front of the camera and giving you guys permission to say things aloud that we didn't even realize we could say aloud. Okay, the next thing I wrote down is I find that Black women are not taught or even like allowed. And I say allowed because that's the permission based way our society sets it up to have boundaries. We don't even know what boundaries are. I didn't know what they were. Nobody taught me any boundaries. Okay. Listen, I came out here and the gates was wide open. I often think of boundaries as like a fence. Imagine like I always like imagine like a field with a fenced in area, and the boundaries are what stays in and what stays out. My definition of boundaries is what you will do and what you won't do. For anybody that's never coached with me, a boundary is simple. It's what you will do and what you won't do. I needed to say that aloud because sometimes I feel like nobody's ever told some people that. It's what you will do and what you won't do. If you've ever coached with me before, especially if you've done group coaching or if you just finished my planning retreat, my virtual planning retreat, one of the things I harp on is figuring out who you are, what your identity is. And the reason why I feel like that is so important is because you can't tell nobody what you will do and what you won't do if you don't know what you will do and what you won't do. Amen. And so a boundary is what you will do and what you won't do. Okay. And access is the gate on that fence. Imagine the fence and access is the gate. And so everybody doesn't have access. And we don't know that. Black women are out here saving everybody. Okay. We just out here, we are the foundation, the cornerstone block on which everything apparently is supposed to be built, fixed, saved. I was watching TikTok recently, and there was a man on TikTok saying that he thinks Black women are Jesus. And I did not take that as a compliment because I don't know. Have y'all seen that TikTok? It was a white man and he was walking and he was saying that he feels like Black women are Jesus. And I guess his sentiment was a positive one. And I kind of get what he was seeing, but listen, Jesus is Jesus. Black women have enough stuff going on in their lives than to be out here trying to save you. We are not the savior. And that's what I mean about we lack boundaries because we spend a lot of time. And I'm saying, first of all, let me go back. This is not everybody, clearly. Okay. I'm not saying everybody does this, but I'm saying often people will spend a lot of time boundaryless, doing for others and ignoring what they need for themselves. Amen. All right. I probably should give me a second, you guys. I am going to pull this up on YouTube so I can see it, although I feel like it's going to make noise on my way there, but I'm going to try my best to get there without making noise. Let me see. Give me 1 second, you guys. I don't know if I can do this without it echoing. If it starts to echo, I will I will stop it. Echo, there it is. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I wanted to have this open. Should have done that before, but we're here now. There we are. All right. Next thing. I wrote down this week that Black women, like you and I, or whoever's watching this, okay, if you're not a Black woman, just sit back and listen. We seem to be trained to take care of other people and serve other people. Does anybody else feel like that happens to us? There is this underlying sentiment that we will fix it all. Okay. There is this underlying sentiment of the valiancy of extreme service and extreme, almost like maternal and motherliness to all of the humans. I see Black women who have all the components of their life firing at 10, meaning educated. I believe that Black women are one of the highest groups of educated people in the country right now. I might be saying that wrong, but I believe that that's true. Excuse me. So they're educated, they got a business going, they're taking care of the family, they're taking care of this, they have social causes, and that seems to be the normal experience. Good evening. Hi, Made for Relationships. Akaimi, that's you, right? Hi. And it's the normal sentiment. It seems to be the normal American sentiment for us to be trained almost from when we are from a young age to grow up to put others before ourselves and have that be a valiant thing. And that can cause a lot of stress, you guys, because one of the things that I've learned in my life, well, I'll get to that later, but one of the things I have learned in my life is when people say you can't pour out of an empty cup, they are correct. Okay. And so the sentiment of put everybody else first is stressful and exhausting, and you really aren't serving those people because you haven't served yourself. But we're going to get to that. Okay. The next thing that I wrote down that I think causes stress for us is, let's see if I can read my notes. We are low on the social totem pole. So this is something that I always like bring up to my husband, because if you know anything about, okay, so let's just say gender and race. Okay. The way that our society is set up, the male gender seems to have it easier. Okay. Why is that? Because the power dynamic is set up for them. That's just how it went. That's how it was. And that still is how it is. I mean, there are changes being made, but that still is how it is. Okay. And so we have that going for us in that we are women, right? And we are not men. And so also, if you look at where Blackness is in our social construct, we have what's called intersectionality, as in there's two things happening, right? There's the Blackness that is affecting our social standing and our social opportunities and the power dynamic. And there's the womanness, right? And so when you are, it's like in my mind, I see it like a quadrant. And I often consider that once we walk out into the world, we don't acknowledge the inherent stress of being in that social position. Now, let me give you guys an example of something opposing to that. Y'all know I'm not from the mainland United States. I was born and raised in the United States Virgin Islands, which means I was born on St. Thomas, a small island in the Caribbean. I did not grow up in the States. I moved here when I was 17. I might have turned 18. I think I turned 18, and then I moved in August to Pennsylvania to go to school. Okay. So most of my formative young years was in the Virgin Islands. And one of the things about the Virgin Islands is everyone, the predominant race is Black. Okay. It's a bunch of Caribbean people down there. And one of the things that's the benefit of growing up in a place like that is your leaders look like you, your governor looks like you, the police officers look like you, the teachers look like you, the authority figures look like you, listen to pastors, like your whole social system is in a space of people that look like you. Yes. I just watched a TED Talk yesterday, and there was a Black man talking about how most people don't have a Black male teacher in their life in the United States. And he's working to change that. That was not my portion. I had Black male teachers, Black female teachers, white male teachers, white female, like all of it. But the majority of people are Black where I'm from, and the majority of people in power are Black. And so when I came to the States, here, I live in Missouri, it was jarring. It was jarring. And it was jarring to the point that, like, I had a coworker, a white male coworker, tell me once in a corporate job, you guys, that he was afraid of me. And I heard him, but I didn't say nothing because I was like, mm. But later on, we actually became really cool. And I went down that rabbit hole and I was like, what did you mean by that? And basically, what we realized is in my social structure that I grew up in the Virgin Islands, I was culturally I don't know how to say that, where he was. And so I behaved differently and that freaked him out. Listen, that's not my problem, but it was a discussion we had. So what I wrote down is something that stresses out Black people that I have noticed is this inherent social spot that we're in. Let me see what Charmaine says. Charmaine says, this is so true. Our community. Did you guys just hear Zion? Zion is down. My son's downstairs. Okay, this is live. Y'all know how this goes. I feel like it's embedded in our DNA. It's a gift, but a curse as well. By gift, I mean we feel and are accomplished, but it's so exhausting. That point about it being embedded in our community is a real thing, Charmaine. Okay, they have actually done studies about how trauma remains in the body, and it can be passed down. I don't think that they actually know exactly all of the ways that that thing can happen, like that thing can happen, how it's passed down. But yes, and clearly not just the physical body, but in the stories. When your mom tells you stories, your dad tells you stories, your grandma tells you stories, all these people tell you stories. It's passed down in the structure of our communities. It's passed down in the stories that we tell each other to stay safe. You know what I mean? And you're right, it is a gift, because I do find that we have a tendency to have a inherent, Black women, Black people in general in this country, have a tendency to have a more inherent ability for community. That's what I notice. We kind of group and we have a like an inset community, and that's a beautiful thing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But there are parts that are exhausting and stressful. You are correct. Akami said, afraid of what? Okay, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But when he said he was afraid of me, I didn't say anything. He said it kind of out the side of his mouth, and I was like, and I didn't say nothing. But later on, months later, when we became friends, I asked him what he meant. He said he didn't know what he meant. He said he would think about it. I said, fine, think about it, but I'm not going to drop it because what you at work telling me you're afraid of me for? What? He didn't even know me. He didn't barely knew me. Okay, at that point. Anyway, he went away. He came back and he told me a story. And he told me that what he realized was there was an inherent difference between how I behaved and how all the Black people that he had encountered in Missouri, specifically the Black people in our office, behaved. There was a difference. And the difference had to do with how I presented myself, how I spoke, and how I came down the hallway. And basically that I was not diverting myself for him. There was no comfort. I was not, he said he took a moment, he listened to he listened to my question, he went away and he came back and realized that a lot of people were trying to make him comfortable and I was not. And that freaked him out. And it turned into a very interesting conversation that I don't think most people could have, because for people who are from the States, it probably would have been hecka triggering. Okay, but remember, I just said I'm not from up here. And so I do have that benefit of the cushion of the Caribbean upbringing and just the last half of my life being up here in some of this foolishness. So anyway, that's the answer to that question, Akayemi. Okay, next thing I wrote down is, you said they became core beliefs and energy is wrapped around it. Correct. If you are talking about some of the things that are passed down. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, the next thing I wrote down, you guys, about what I think causes us stress, okay, as Black women, all right, that I hope that we can work on remedying, is we are taught that we are not enough. I don't know if you guys see this. This is something I've been chewing on lately. If you guys have watched any of my videos, you may notice that at the end of the videos, I started putting the words, you are enough. The reason why I put that is because I am pounding it into my head that I am enough. And the reason why I put that is because last year I realized that there was a root in me. Let's be biblical for a second. There was a root in me of not enoughness. And I had to go down the rabbit hole of where that came from and why I felt that way. And some of it, not all of it, but some of it came from living in the body of a woman in the United States and definitely living in the body of a Black woman in the United States. We are told so much stuff. Okay? This isn't okay. This is not, there's literally still laws on the books about our hair, the way it comes out of our head. Look, in 2022, there's literally still laws on the books, you guys, about Black people's hair, the way it comes out of our head. I mean, talk about stressful. There's a young man right now being told he can't do his graduation because he has locks. He can't walk across the stage. Where they do that at? I mean, it's so disorienting and something that other people don't have to consider. And that's a stressor. It's ridiculous. People legitimately still think that I am less beautiful because I have more melanin in my skin. I don't understand it. Clearly, you guys see that the way I operate in this world does not take that into account. I never thought it. When I was growing up, that whole light skin colorism situation didn't make no sense to me because I had a mirror. Let me take a sip on that. I had a mirror. Okay. And so I don't know why I was seemingly impervious to people telling me that because I was darker, I wasn't enough and beauty was in the lighter complexion. But listen, it didn't stop me. I went straight to South Africa and met Mandela as Miss American Virgin Islands. And it was like two of us that were dark skinned there. I went to Africa. Okay. And me and Tanzania were the two dark skinned girls. I just didn't, we're told these things. And imagine, like, consider what that's like for you, you guys. Like, what I'm trying to do with this live is have you actually think, that's not something that's normal. That's actually extra stuff being put on me. And it's unfortunate. And I should tend to myself. I should care for myself. We're gonna get to that. Okay. Next thing I wrote down is we want to protect others and we don't tell the truth. Ooh. And I think that's something that I don't remember what happened this week that made me jot that down. But I do think that there is a silencing and an invalidating of our experience. I'll go in that direction. I think I have it on my desktop. Let me read it to you. I saw this Facebook memory pop up and I saved it because I need to just have it for myself and to drop it on other people when they say dumb stuff to me. March 13th, 2021. So last year, 9:58 p.m., March 12th, 2021. The moment I stopped spending any time on anyone telling me that my experience isn't valid. There's so much of the Black woman experience that we have to always seemingly try to convince other people to believe. What? I mean, this is not the Black woman experience, but even today, I put up a video on Facebook about my experience as a special need mom, and somebody came on the video and was like, "What's wrong with you? That's not my experience, blah, blah, blah." When you walk out into the world as me and potentially as you, if you're a Black woman, it's exhausting. That's stressful to not have people continually believe your lived experience. And one of the things I would suggest to you is do exactly what I did, which is stop pouring any energy into human beings who are committed to misunderstanding your actual lived experience. Just because she's a woman don't mean she get it, because if she's not in this body with this hair and this skin, her experience may be different than yours. And that's okay. Just time out for that kind of thing. But we have that happening to us practically on a daily basis. The next thing I wrote down is we have untreated and unhealed mental illness. Listen, know exactly what happened this week that made me write that down. As a community, there is still a stigma for mental illness in Black people. I have recently heard somebody say, when I suggested that what they may be experiencing was anxiety, they described what they were experiencing to me, and I said, you may want to consider that that might be anxiety that's happening to you. They asked, and I kid you not, the quote was, "What's that mean? I'm local?" And I think that that's an encapsulation of just how we come at mental health. And rightfully so, because I'm sure that many years ago, it was very dangerous to have mental health issues, and that did not go well for you as a Black person. But nowadays, I believe that those stigmas remain. And so I feel like in our community, we just have rampant, untreated mental health issues, and we just don't even, like, people just allow it. All of us got, listen, just mama acting up, Pookie and them, Uncle so and so. We don't talk about Bruno, and all just in the, and we just like, oh, that's just how they are. Ain't nothing wrong with them. Meanwhile, they tearing up the spot. Okay. And there's just still this cultural stigma. I have been posting videos on the internet that cover mental health topics on my journey as I've grown and learned for a decade and a half. And I remember when I first started posting these videos, you guys, these types of videos, people would inbox me almost like they were whispering. I remember several people telling me they had never seen a Black Christian woman say out her mouth that she had a depression diagnosis. I got that a lot back in the day. Now it's way more common. And when I tell you, I'm happy to see it. But one of the things that I hope for our community is that we become much less stigmatized when it comes to asking for help, specifically in the realm of mental health. Because you guys, our community has been through a lot. We've been through a lot. Okay. And if the mental health traumas have happened to anybody, it's happened to us. It's happened to us. I posted a video this week that was like, do I have ADHD? Now, granted, I am not a diagnostician. I cannot know if I have ADHD. I got to go talk to somebody, right? But listen, whenever I think maybe this is happening to me, I go and I look it up. For years, I said I had a depression diagnosis. My actual diagnosis was major depressive disorder, right? And I self-diagnosed myself with anxiety because I was like, there's anxiety in here. Nobody's told me. Well, here's the thing. Last year, I asked my therapist, who I've worked with for a very long time, what his diagnosis is that he has written on his books. And he said my diagnosis on his books is PTSD. And I was like, I knew there was anxiety in there. you should have said something. Okay, like, sir, say something. So we have this stigma. And one of the things I want to do is be like, look, you guys, I am present. You guys have seen me. I'm out here on the internet. I haven't self-destructed. I am not local, relatively speaking. Okay, like like I am not. I mean, I'm a little, y'all know how I am. I mean, there's pineapples everywhere. Hello, y'all see it. But anyway, there's nothing local about it. Matter of fact, people who are healing and moving forward are creating a better life for themselves. So that's something that we have a tendency to do in our community. Next thing I wrote down is we don't allow ourselves to change peacefully. Whew. People like to, what's the word, God? That's just how I am. My mama was like that. My daddy was like that. People be wrong and strong, as we say in the Virgin Islands. Okay. Just because grandma and your cousin and everybody behave that way does not mean that they were creating good outcomes. And there just seems to be like a community-wide acceptance of that. The other thing is there's a lot of shame that I see. And listen, none of this is stuff I didn't work through. I have worked through and continue to work through most of these things that I'm telling you guys. Okay. There's a shame when we have to admit that we are in error or that we did something that was not great. It's starting to rain. You guys, listen, it's live. Okay, that's what we're doing. If you hear that, that's what it is. There's like a shame. And so people will just not do it. Or instead of being introspective and being able to be in a situation where a healthy response is either given or learned or pursued, because if you never learned a healthy response, you can pursue learning one. We just decide, listen, you know what we do? We get mad. It's a lot of clapping back and popping off when what should be happening is introspection and apology. Let me tell you something. I learned today that one of my love languages is apologies. Ain't nothing better than when I say to somebody, no, you've crossed the boundary. That does not feel good. That did not go well. And that person comes right back to me with, I am so sorry I offended you. Okay. Or I apologize. That was not my intent. I'm so sorry. That's my love language. That's the kind of healthy people that I want to be around. And I find that the stigma against getting treated mental health creates this this feeling of not being able to change. Like change is bad. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, change is one of the best things that you can do. If you're a Christian, the Bible says you need to be transformed. What does transformed mean? It means changed. And what are you changed by? It's by the renewing of your what? Your mind. Change your mind. And then you are transformed, y'all. It's all right. You could have been wrong. You could have been clapback queen last year. You could have been loud cuss them out queen last year. And this year, you might want to be a soft answer turns away wrath. And that's okay. It's okay if mama tell you to cuss them out and grandma tell you to cuss them out and mama cussed you out this morning, but you don't want to be that. It just, you don't have to carry on toxic, I don't love that word, but you understand, maladaptive, bad legacies just cause. There is no loyalty in carrying on a crappy legacy. Okay, next thing. We think stress is normal. When you are, I did a video one time called The Smell in the Room. It's on my YouTube and my Facebook. And it was about the concept of being so steeped in something that is traumatic and stressful that you don't know any different. You don't know any different. The concept was basically like when you walk into your house, there's no smell, right? But when you walk into other people's house, there is a smell. It doesn't mean there isn't a smell in your house. It means that you can't smell it because you created that smell. So when you create the thing, you're less likely to perceive it, right? Less likely to perceive it. So think about Blackness in America. Think about womanness in America. Think about the intersection of Blackness and womanness in America. Yeah, we think that this stressful state is normal. An incredible example of this is Stephanie Perry. I had her on a couple weeks ago and we were talking about Black women and ease. And she is a professional house sitter and she lives outside of the US very often and she helps Black women have sabbaticals, right? And one of the things that she learned growing up here in the United States as a Black woman and now traveling to other places, which is something I knew inherently because remember, I'm from the Virgin Islands. So I came with this in my mind already. I had the backwards experience. I grew up without the mainland US experience as a Black woman and then came here and was like, who y'all talking to? Listen, the people up here got a lot of like, who you talking to? Like that. What you think this is? They got a lot of that from me. She, on the other hand, grew up in this experience. And when she goes out of the country, she's like, oh my God, people treat me better. They treat me differently. Yeah, girl. Let me look at the camera. Yes, Black woman. Yes, yes. If you've traveled before as a Black woman or a Black person to a place outside of the United States and you have been shocked by being treated like a person, not, like things that you didn't even think of in the US, by all means, let me know. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. There's definitely still clearly racism and colorism and all those things elsewhere. But I'm just letting you guys know that but inherently, this is a stressful experience. Take it from somebody who did not grow up on the mainland United States until, like I said, I think I came up here when I was 18. Um, this is a stressful experience. And so the smell in the room is one of distress, always like hypervigilance, always being concerned about, like, is somebody following me in the store? And am I going to get pulled over? And what does that black person over there acting up mean about me? You know how that is when we're out in public and it's only two black people and that person over there acting up. So now you're like, everybody looking at you and you're just like, I don't know them. Okay. Having to walk into rooms and the first thing that you do is scan the room to see what the color is, because you get to, by looking at the room and you think, okay, I'm the only black person in here. That tells you how much of yourself you can be now. Tell me I'm wrong. That's stressful, y'all. That's stressful. Okay. You walk into a room and it's a bunch of black people. You think, oh, whew, thank God. You go into a comment section, it's a bunch of black people. You think, who is that? Who? Right? You don't have to explain yourself. Nobody gonna ask you when you gonna get your hair done. Like that, right? Nobody's like, oh, can I touch your hair? All of that stuff. Okay. Next thing I wrote down. We're told that our value is as a wife and as a mother. Now, this is not just black women. This is women in general. But socially, you guys, we are more valuable. We are much more valuable than just the roles that we play. And many of us are not raised to think that. And that's sad, because the women who raised us were not raised to think that, and so on, and the women who raised them. You're literally raised to be a role. My God, on today, let me stop right there. You're raised to be a role, you guys. Think about that. I had a friend tell me a few years ago she was going to go into therapy, and I thought it was wonderful. This is great. I love when people go to therapy. Okay. Everybody go to therapy. Everybody, all of y'all, everybody watching this on the replay in real life, everybody go. Okay. Especially if you looking to be in a relationship with another human being and you haven't gone to therapy yet. Boo boo. I can too. Oh, I felt that in my shanana. Go find you a therapist and tell them, I want to work on me. I want to heal some stuff in me so that I don't discover the unhealed parts of me by grinding them up against the unhealed parts of another person. But listen, that's another life. We'll talk about that some other day. Okay. Maybe a coaching group or something. Anyway, so my friend said, I'm going to therapy. I said, that's wonderful. She said, I'm going to therapy because I need to be a better wife. I said, really? And I'm going to therapy because I want to be a better mother. And I said, oh, okay. And I'm going to therapy so I could be another fill in some role. And I'm going to therapy and I could be something to fill in some role. And I said, halt. I said to her, stop for a second. You stop for 1 second, okay? Promise me something. When you go to therapy, you go to therapy to be a better, and I said her name. You go to therapy to be a better Rushni. And when you are a better Rushni will show up as the improved wife. And Rushni will show up as the improved mother. And Rushni will show up as the improved friend. Okay. If you are a person who is in your 30s and 40s or beyond, and you realize that the only thing you were trained to do is to be somebody's wife and to be somebody's mother, and you feeling stressed out and lost and confusioned, maybe you don't know who you are. This is why in my coaching groups, I harp so much on identity. And it breaks my heart how many women come into my coaching groups and they have never once sat down and thought, what do I value? What am I interested in? What is my purpose? What's my mission? What am I doing? Who am I? And oftentimes we will find people who have had no input from anyone formative that positively tells them to go in that direction. And it's sad. It's sad to me. I experienced some of that. It's sad, you guys. And it's okay. It's not selfish. That's the other thing I want to say, because we're told that that's selfish. It's not selfish. Like I said at the beginning of this live, you cannot pour out of an empty cup. You are a people pleaser and nobody around you is pleased. You ain't pleased, they ain't pleased, nobody pleased. Okay? When you start pleasing you and figuring out who you are and showing up in the world as you, now, now you're cooking with hot fire, as we say in the Virgin House. Now you're making the impact that you want to make. Okay? Now you're making the impact that you want to make as the wife, as the mother. But before all of that, as you, for you. Okay? Move on. Next, we're told, no, I said that one. We're told that, I said that one, that we are too much. Now, earlier I said, we're told we're not enough. We're told we're not enough because, beauty is this and standards are this and we're too, we're this and we're that and the other. But on the other hand, Black women have the stress of being misunderstood in our delivery and our cultural norms. The trope of the angry Black woman. I did a video recently and it was the one where the woman said she had a Black friend, but now her friend is hostile. I forgot the other word she said. And I was just like, is she hostile for real? Like, how quickly people go to Black women being hostile. How quickly people go to the angry Black woman trope. Our society as a whole, not just Blackness, whiteness, just humans, Americans don't seem to understand trauma. I'm so grateful to see this move toward mental health and people starting to understand how trauma affects people's minds and their wills, their emotions, and their physical bodies and nervous systems. I am so happy to see that. But think about the generational trauma that has occurred and the patterns that have occurred in Black communities. And then let me ask you this question. Would you not be expressive about that? I mean, if she is angry, maybe first of all, you might be wrong. She's not angry. And if she is angry, maybe she got something to be angry about. Maybe if you would listen to her and what she was saying, her lived experience could be validated regularly and she could get stuff off her chest. You know what I mean? She could tell you why she mad, son, tell you why she mad. Then maybe, right? Maybe that expression that you are thinking is, oh, she's so angry. Maybe it's a valid expression of something. Also, maybe it's just another expression of something. I'll tell you what, as a person from the Caribbean, we speak fast. We speak choppy and we speak fast. Okay. I got a lot of different code switches in my mind. And one of them, all of the ones that go to the Black American and Caribbean American side are louder. My voice comes from a different place in my vocal range. Hello, I'm louder, I'm more expressive because culturally that makes sense. We talk with our hands, you know what I mean? We talk with our heads, we do all of this. But when I have to now go to another place and speak in another way, the minute I express myself in a way that's normative, it's called something. You too much, you too loud, you too this, I feel that. How about just understanding that culturally, Blackness comes with a type of expression that may come off more boisterous than your type of expression is, but it may not be anger. It may be something else. There are feeling wheels on the internet. All you have to do is go out and Google feeling wheel, and this colorful wheel of different words that are different feelings that you can, consider that you're having come up. Pull up the feeling wheel and see if any of the bunch of feelings out there's not a million, Rushni. There's probably like 50 feelings. I don't know how many. Anything else but anger, she might be feeling. She could be frustrated. She could feel invalidated. Listen, none of that might be happening. She might just be excited. She might just be expressive. Okay? We're told that we're too much. And we are not. We are not. We are enough. Okay? Anyway, move on, Rashni. I'm looking at the time. We are code switching. I wrote down code switching is stressful and exhausting, you guys. I just said, listen, I speak a lot of languages. Okay? All of them are English. And apparently all of them are necessary. All right. I got a dab of Spanish in me, but don't ask me to speak to you in Spanish, but I got a dab of Spanish in me. But I can speak I have a corporate voice. Now, it's not a perfect corporate voice because once again, I grew up in the Virgin Islands. And so this is as corporate as my Missouri voice gets. All right. It's not going to fool anybody into thinking that I'm from Missouri, because I definitely say things with an accent, although everyone has an accent, you guys. Just gonna put that out there. Okay. Anyway, I say things that take that you know trigger in a person's mind, specifically here in the Midwest, that I'm not from the Midwest. But this is as code switchy as I get. Okay, you hear that? And my I even have to change where the sound is coming out of my mouth. It's coming from behind my nose. Y'all ever realize that we do that when we talk to people? Our diphthongs and our enunciation has to change. That's exhausting. You know why it's exhausting? Because this is not my real voice. So imagine having to live in a society where to get forward and to move forward, you have to assimilate and actually change your voice. And you have to change how you speak. Because if I want to come to my job and I want to speak to you in my actual voice, the way I grew up, the way I actually sound, this is how my voice sound. But you think I could go to somebody corporate job and just be like, hey, what time the meeting is? I just have to do that for you guys. That's tiring. Okay? That's tiring to feel this need to switch who you actually are so that you can succeed in the structure of the social structure that you're in. Y'all, think about that. It's not just our hair we got to flatten out and straighten. It's ourselves we got to flatten out and straighten. It's like, how much of you do you leave outside the door of the place when you scan the room and realize the color temperature of the room? Y'all ain't talking back to me. I hope y'all listening, because I don't see a lot of comments, but hopefully this is helping somebody, because I really want us to think about these things. This is why you have that feeling of, oh, when you walk into a space and you see more brown people, because you don't have to switch as much. This is why it helps to find spaces where there are brown people. And this is one of the reasons why I'm going to start actively saying more often that the people I'm speaking to are Black women. I realize that you guys already know I'm speaking to Black women. I don't actively say it that much though, but I'm going to start saying it because I want us to have spaces where we understand that we are the center of the conversation. We deserve that. I deserve it. You deserve it. We deserve it. Okay. Next thing I wrote down is we are unsupportive. What do I mean by that? I wrote down something else and I don't even know what it means, but we are unsupported. And this is something that is why y'all are gonna see, y'all gonna get sick of me, because every single live is gonna be Black women in this and Black women in that. Listen, because if you a Black girl, 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 and listen, like I said at the beginning of this live, it's not like these things don't apply to other people. If you're here and you are not Black or you're not a woman, listen, chew the meat and spit out the bone. Rain, you don't see me trying to go live? The rain is right there, you guys. I apologize if it's making noise. But listen, support spaces need to exist. And I have a space that passively, you know, it's for Black people, women, you know. Come on, y'all know. But I'm about to start saying it aloud more, because I am coming into this place of realizing that we aren't as supported. And if I want it to exist, I can create it. I can create it. And so feeling unsupported is something that's very stressful. The last thing that I wrote down, and if you guys can think of anything that adds stress to your life, please drop it in the comments, because I would love to hear what you guys think stresses you out. Okay, I would love it. And then I'm gonna move on to things you can do about it. And I wrote this down this morning because of this comment. Our lived experiences aren't believed. Y'all, I put a video up this morning, a video of something that happened to me. And the comment from a white lady was basically questioning my lived experience. Boo boo! You know how exhausting it is to go through life and have to keep saying, no, really, that happened to me. No, that's really how that is. No, I can't find makeup that fits my complexion. No, my hair. No, you don't understand. This is how my hair. No, you don't. That's exhausting. That's stressful AF. Okay. That is stressful, you guys. Like one of the things, if you're a non-black person and you're watching this video, and even black people, when it comes to supporting other black women, let somebody's experience exist. There's something in the psychological space called differentiation. I'm going to butcher it because I'm not a trained professional, but my understanding of it is different differentiation, right? The root is different. So their experience exists wholly and entirely. It exists and it's valid and true. And your experience exists wholly and entirely, and it's valid and true. And you do not need to spend any time trying to talk them out of their experience. And you do not need to spend any time around other people who are trying to talk you out of your experience because they are undifferentiated. Undifferentiated people they feel threatened when an experience is different than their own, and they extend a lot of energy trying to find some kind of symbiotic feeling that we're all having the same experience, and we are not. And so you can choose to live a life where you learn how to be more differentiated, meaning let other people's experiences exist. So if your sister tells you that's what happened to her, you let it be what happened to her. You don't have to be like, well, that never had that happen at the store, or my aunt never talked to me like that. I don't know why you saying that, girl. And if anybody comes at you that way, you don't need to have that happen anymore. Okay? What I tell you guys, well, let's say it, March 18th, 5:53 p.m. Central Standard Time is the last time that you're going to let somebody talk you out of your lived experience, and the last time you won't talk anybody else out. Okay, so what can we do about it? What can we do about it? First thing is, and this is not in any order, and if you guys can think about ways that we can handle this, please put them in the comments, okay? Because it's not just me. I'm telling y'all, I literally was just thinking about these things and throwing them down on paper all week long. First thing is, allow yourself to mourn what was taken from you. Grief is real. And grief is not just your family member passed away. And trust me, I understand, because recently my dad died. And I have had a lot of grief in my life when it comes to somebody leaving us physically. But grief exists in other spaces beyond that. And there can be grief when it comes to racial and gender-based disparities and discrepancies. One of the things that I experienced that I had to grieve was growing up, I wanted to be a model. And I mean, now I understand that I was actually too tall. I'm 6'1". And so the smallest size that I ever really wore was like a 6'7". And that's too big for the fit sizes for modeling, but I would go to agencies in New York and I would be told I was too dark and my nose was too big. And I had a lot of internal trauma about that because I don't know if you realize that darkness and big noses is part of being Black. Okay. So that's something that I have allowed myself to grieve. I have given it space. Because it really bothered me. I'm not that they said that, yes, but that I never did get to model, and that I kept getting that kind of feedback. Okay, you have to imagine, I'm a teenager and I'm hearing that feedback from white women. Okay. Modeling agencies. And so now at my big age of 45, I give myself space to grieve it. What does that look like? I bring up the topic in therapy because it's worthy and I deserve to talk about what I feel was taken from me. I spend time journaling about it. I find other ways to channel my need to model now, to give myself what I wasn't given. I actually grieve. I mourn it. I let it come out. Y'all, we got to let some of this stuff come out. Okay? So that's one of the ways that we can start to move and heal these things that stress us so we can relax. Okay? Relate, release. Next thing I wrote down, find communities that validate your experience. I kind of touched on this before, but it is exhausting AF to spend time with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. I had a therapist once. And the irony of this is my favorite therapist right now is is a white guy that I work with. But I had a white female therapist one time, and every time I expressed to her anything that seemed almost what's the word I'm looking for? It was anything that seemed a little like exuberant. She would, or like potentially racially informed. She would dismiss me and basically tell me that's not what it was and suggest that I had some disorder. Now, imagine if I had actually listened to her and stayed underneath her care. That's a person that's committed to misunderstanding me. Okay. I do not, and just because a person is a doctor, a teacher, a police officer, any authority figure, a mental health professional, all of those places, I don't care if you're in a Facebook group for people that sew, you're in a Facebook group for people that have plants, okay? If something about your Black womanness is informing your experience and people keep telling you it's not a thing, go find a space that validates and supports you, that you trust, and that feels safe. Because often part of the root of trauma is feeling like you're not safe. And I'm telling you guys this from experience. I was one of those people where I didn't really think it made that big of a difference if I just like, okay, well, I don't need to find a group of Black women that do this thing. You know what I mean? I could just find a group of people that do the thing. And it just don't hit the same. It hits, but not the same. It hits, but not the same. It hits, but not the same. Okay? So if you're in a space and that space is not serving you, niche that space down. And I'm going to tell you one of the niches that helps me, Black femaleness. Okay? Because then I don't have to code switch so much. And then I don't have to explain so much. And I don't have to do it. And I hate it for us, but it's true. It doesn't mean that you give away or you give up on the other spaces. You can still participate in those spaces, but to relieve the stress and ease the tension, as we say in the Virgin Islands, if your plant group is tripping, girl, find a group of Black chicks that plants. And if your fashion group is tripping, because you're talking about something and they're dismissing you and they don't want to share your experience, you don't feel like you're in a supported, trusting community, find a group of Black chicks that like fashion. Okay, I don't care if you like nature walks, look for us. And if we don't exist, create us, which is one of the reasons why I'm starting to, y'all are gonna see this shift. Okay, because in my mind I'm like, we need spaces, and I have this platform and I want to start creating these spaces. We need it. Okay. I'm from the Virgin Islands and I grew up around all Black people doing Black people things. And for the people who watch me who are from the Caribbean, you know what I'm talking about. If you've moved to the States, you can tell the difference. If you only lived in the States, let me tell you something. There's a different way to exist where you don't have to stress and explain yourself so much. And if I have the ability to create such types of community, that's what I'm going to work on. That's what we're working on. Next thing I wrote down is pre-plan how you're going to respond in stressful scenarios. I hate this for us, but this is not just for us, it's for anybody in any stressful scenario, but specifically as a Black woman. If you know that people asking you to touch your hair is stressful to you, then I would suggest, when you are not in a stressful space, contemplating and pre-planning what your response will be if that stressful space shows up. Listen, I hate it for us. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying I'm glad we have to do it. I'm saying think about it. So if somebody says, "Can I touch your hair?" Think about what you'll say to them. and try to make it calm. You know what I mean? That way you don't have to respond in the moment, because often when we're responding in the moment to stressful experiences like that, especially when it comes to race and gender based experiences, all of our trauma responses start firing. And I don't know if you guys know anything about trauma, but part of your brain shuts off. Okay. And so the fact that you might pop off or freeze or all of those things is a valid response. And if you pre think what you're going to say when you're in the meeting, and everybody else is saying stuff and nobody listening to you, or every time you say something somebody keeps repeating what you said and they keep listening to him but not you, you know what I mean, like all of that kind of stuff, pre-think it. Pre-think to yourself, what would I do if this experience happens? Now, don't go there if you're traumatized and if you're causing yourself distress. You may want to find support. Pre-think it in a session with your therapist. And like I said, I hate it for us. But let me tell y'all something. I'm a special needs mom, and I have to pre-think things. And I hate it for me. Okay? I hate it for me. I hate it for my son. But when you live in this world, sometimes you have to set yourself up for a more relaxed and less stressful experience. And I'll tell you what, if you pre-think what you're going to say or do, then it's more likely that you're going to create the outcome that you want, if unfortunately that stressful thing happens. The next thing I wrote down is, oh, I really like this concept. Two more things. I really like this concept. I was listening to a live recently, and the lady said, if you stay in the situation, you have to learn to cope. If you leave the situation, you can learn to heal. I think that's not what she said, but that's my synopsis of it. That's not what she said. That was not her word. And she said you can't heal when you're still in the situation. You're just learning coping strategies. I thought that was such a good construct. And so think about this. If you live in a society where you are socially, I don't want to say on a lower end of the totem pole when it comes to gender and race, what you're learning is how to cope with it. And how to cope with it has to do with strategies to create the best, the most desired, and the less stressful and traumatizing outcomes. You have my definition of joy, you guys, is agency to create your outcomes. The minute you start realizing that you have creative power, things start to change. You start to ask different questions. You start to say yes to things. You start to say no to things. You start creating your whole life. Okay. And to me, that is joy. I could go biblical on you. I don't have to. But my definition of joy actually aligns exactly with stuff that's said in the Bible. And I didn't even realize that. I came up with my definition of joy based off of my experiences. And then I went to the Bible and I was like, oh, look at that. He said it right here. All right. You can create a experience where, as a Black woman, you are coping well. Let me put it that way. You have strategies in place, like I'm telling you, so that you know, right? Because where are you going to leave? Like, where are you going to run to? You can't run no place, right? This is the body you're in. Okay. And so be intentional, you guys, when you're creating your experience, like finding communities that support you. If you're in a community or a job or anything that's unsupportive and that keeps invalidating who you are and what your experience is, you don't have to stay in that. You can create something different. You can research it. You can ask another question, ask another question, ask another question until you find the information that helps you create something that's less stressful. The next thing I wrote down is to focus on what's going well. And this is not just like positive self-talk, but it is. One of my favorite things to tell people is don't knock a simple strategy that you haven't tried. Don't knock a simple strategy that you haven't tried. If somebody tells you that meditation is great and you think, whatever, that's woo-woo, but you've never tried it, what you knocking it for? You ain't tried it. If I tell you that you're going to have a better outcome if you get more rest in your body, your mind, your will, your emotions, go to sleep, and you haven't tried it, you just pish posh it, well then what? I mean, one of the most powerful things that I have incorporated into my life to de-stress and literally to work on my anxiety response. Remember, I have a PTSD diagnosis, you guys, is breathing exercises. Breathing, just breathing, breathing exercises has changed my life. Simple things. So, one of the simple things that people tend to pish posh is this: focus on what's going well, affirming things, affirmations, yes, but also just affirming yourself and affirming, looking at life through an affirming lens. Okay. One of the powerful things I think Charmaine said at the beginning of the slide is it's a blessing and a curse, because being Black in America, being a woman in America, being a Black woman in America comes with a lot of negative things, but it comes with a lot of positive things. Listen, I would not change it. Somebody could come to me right now and be like, would you like to switch to something else? I would not. I would not. Okay. Because listen, we're magic. We are the divine. We're incredible. This experience comes with so many positive things. And so, one of the ways that you can lower your stress response and relax and create something more beautiful is to focus on the positive parts of this experience. I love my hair. It's great. It does what I want it to. I could have my hair straight today. Listen, it could be, I could wash my hair right now. It could shrink up on my head. It could be short. It could be long. Listen, we could do it all. Okay. I love my complexion. Look at this. Hello. What's going on? Really? I get to walk around all bronzed up like this? There's just so much. I love my culture. I love how we talk. I love how our jokes are. You know what I mean? I was joking around with somebody in the inbox today. She sent me something. I hit her back with the bop bop bang, and she hit me back with a Buddha bang, and we never met each other. I love that about us. I love that about us. Okay. I love, even though that people try to take advantage of our maternalness, our like, covering the earth maternalness. I love that we surround each other. All right. I love that I've been outside before and I've walked up to a Black woman and I fixed the tag in her dress. I fixed her bra strap because it was showing. One time there was a lady who was out and she had stuff on her pants because of it was the time of the month. And I just walked right up behind her and said, "You have stuff on your pants. You've messed up your pants. I'm going to walk behind you so that you could go to the bathroom." And she said, "Oh my God, I love that about us. We rock." Okay. That's great. Focus on our power. Focus on our superpowers. Okay. And that alleviates a lot of the stress that we can have having to move through the world. And the last thing I wrote down is self-care that honors specifically our Blackness and our womanness. Not just self-care. Self-care is great, you guys. I love a good self-care. Okay. Ain't nobody like me that I taken care of besides Zion Coke down these stairs. Okay. Rushni is here at the house. Mascara is on. I ain't went no place outside. All right. Put this puff on top of my head and had the audacity to put more perfume on before I did this live for nobody except me. I'm the only person that can smell me right now. I smell great. Okay. DKNY, I think it's light blue. All right. Your girl is in here just perfumed up for herself. All right. She's creating her office to look the way she wants it to feel the way she wants it to. But I'm also journaling every morning. I'm also doing breathing exercises. But guess what? There's self-care that can honor the fact that you're a Black woman. There's self-care that can honor that. And so one of the ways that I de-stress is I elevate those things when I'm choosing care options. One of the big things I do, you guys, as a self-care option is exactly what I told you guys earlier. If the community ain't giving what it's supposed to have given, I take that exact same community criteria and I type Black women and the community criteria. And I try to go find Black women doing it. Because it's that waiting to exhale. Or like, can I say this? Because are they going to understand? I remove that from the equation. And that to me is care for me. Me Rushni. Me Glamazini Rushni. Okay? That's care for me. That's care for me. You know what another thing of self-care is that I do for me, you guys, and I've been doing this for years, all right? I stopped watching videos of Black bodies lying in the street and Black people being murdered by police officers and the like with Eric Garner. I think it was 2014. I stopped. And I remember, and that's self-care. That's self-care. As a Black woman, that's self-care for me. That's something I need up here. I remember saying it back then, and I was told by someone that I can't do that because I have to stay informed. Listen, put that in the category of stressors. You don't have to stay that informed, boo-boo. You're not Superwoman. Listen, if your call is to be an activist and your call is to be present and to systemically change things, do what you're supposed to do. But also know that you can't be 100% on at all times. You are not Jesus. You are not going to save us. Sit down somewhere and relax. Go to therapy, get a massage, read a book, do some breathing exercises. Go outside and put your feet in the grass and cry for a second. Call your friend, laugh. All right. The person told me I was being uninformed. And I was like, no, I can't watch that anymore. The irony of that is that same person several years later, when all of the subsequent people kept coming, boom, 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 posted on the internet, oh my God, I have stopped watching these things. Yeah. Yeah, boo boo. I tried to tell you 3 years ago. Now you got 3 years of Black bodies swinging from the trees in your head. I'm out here trying to live my joyous pineapple life, and you want me to watch another public lynching? I don't want it. I mean, I'm just saying, y'all, it's okay. You can still be informed. Let me tell you a way to be informed. Pick a source that you know will handle your Black femaleness with care, love, support, nurturing when they serve you the information, and get your information from there. That's self-care. That's self-care. It's okay to do those types of considerations when you're moving in the world. It's okay. The other thing I was going to say is self-care, and I kind of touched on it, is you don't have to be the savior. You don't have to be the activist, you guys. If you want to go protest, go protest. Over the last, when all the protests were happening at the beginning of the pandemic, my husband was out there. Okay. He was so serious. Listen, y'all want to talk about, I'm talking about back when we thought everybody was contagious. He had a speaker strapped to his back. Okay. He was like, blah, blah. He was out there. And when he came in the house, I would spray him down. And I think the first few times I actually made him quarantine because we didn't know how contagious stuff was, but he had to be out there. I did not. I did not, because the way my anxiety response was set up, and I didn't feel like I was doing something errant, because the way that I showed up was how I could show up to take care of Rushni and also use my platform. Whereas the way he showed up was how he showed up, and there was no judgment from either of us about how we showed up. That is self-care, you guys. That is self-care. Pam says she stayed informed by watching the news every day. I don't watch the news, you guys. I can't tell you the last time I watched the news, Pam. I don't. Fun fact, I don't really watch TV, you guys. I don't watch television. But I definitely stopped watching the news before I stopped watching TV. You know why? Because I don't want my information to come that way. A lot of my news sources are from gentler news sources that I trust, or specific times where I dive into a news source, get the information I want on a topic, and then I leave out. I definitely don't have notifications thrown up on my phone about nothing. And I don't watch videos about things that I know are going to distress me. I am the queen of this. Let me show y'all how it happens. You know how you're on the internet and you're scrolling? The minute I see the top of something that I know is a video because everybody's talking about it, I do this. I just cover it up because I don't want to see it. I don't want it in my spirit because it distresses me. And to me, that's self-care. You can make those kind of choices. And if your cousin and everybody telling you that you're selfish and you don't whatever, then they're not differentiated, and they need to do their work as well, because all of us have to do our part, but all of us are not going to do all of it. Okay, you don't have to break your back to save everyone. Black woman, let's put it that way. It's draining. We are suffocating. Well, I don't want to say I'm suffocating. It's definitely draining and it's definitely exhausting. And we can definitely feel like we're suffocating, but that's why I want us to do our breath work. Okay. Because oxygen is available. Hopefully, the more I speak about these types of things, the more we feel like we have a space where there's air. The more we feel seen and heard and valued, like Melissa, Miss Kev on stage says, um, in our womanness, in our blackness, in our experience, right? And the more we feel like there's air. What is Gloria saying? Gloria is posting things about vaccines, and I'm not really sure what that is, Gloria. So I'm just going to skip over that. Made for Relationships says that causes people way more stress to watch that over and over. Yeah, and that, listen, I don't know a lot about this kind of stuff, but I do know that some people re-traumatize themselves because there is vicarious trauma that can be occurring even though the thing didn't happen to you. If you see a Black young man murdered and you have fear for Black young men that you love, or you are a Black young man, you can be vicariously distressed and traumatized. And then this thing is just flying through your timeline, and every news source is telling you, gotta stay informed. You gotta stay informed. And the next thing you know, you outside and you hyper vigilant, jumpy. So now when the police officer come up, part of your brain shuts off. You can't even speak. He talking to you. You babbling. I mean, don't do it. Listen, sometimes you gotta turn it off. That's self-care, you guys. That's how you ease the tension. That's how the stress relieves itself. That's how you start the process of being less stressed out as a Black woman. So anywho, I wanted to say this. Thank you guys for being here. I went over my time, but I wanted to say this to you guys. I've been loving the content from Stephanie Perry here on YouTube. She is, like I said earlier, a pro house sitter, and she focuses on Black women and ease. I actually did a video with her. It is on my channel, and let me see if I can find it. I will put it here for you guys so that you can see it. Actually, I wonder if I go this way. Boop-a-doop-boo. Give me a second. And she is, I have this idea, and I think I want to do it. So I'm going to talk about it. Here is Stephanie's video, Black Women and Ease. This is when I spoke to her. And if you want to find her content, she is on YouTube. She is creating a fund where she is going to send a Black woman on a sabbatical, because that is what she talks about. And I was like, oh my God, I love that. I love that so much. So this morning, I posted in my Patreon. I was like, you guys, I would love to do something like that, but I would love to do it specifically to create Black joy. Okay. I'm thinking I want to create a fund, you guys, and that fund will be, let me do this. That fund will be a pine. I'm trying to put it on the screen. There it is. That fund will be how I can support a Black woman to create like a joy thing. Now, I don't have it all ironed out, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I will create a Google form, and I will ask Black women to just say to me, apply and say, this is my joy thing, and this is how much I think I would need for that joy thing. And then once I have people who have submitted or applied for the thing, I will take their joy thing and I will let people know this is the person and this is what we're working on for them. Kind of akin to what Stephanie's doing with her sabbatical, because she does tell us who she's doing it for and, you know, whatever. And so I think the easiest way for me to do this is I already have support stuff set up. I don't need to do nothing extra. I have a Patreon. I have the ability to support me on Facebook, and I have the ability to become a supporter on YouTube now. So I call them Happy Pineapples. They get previews and all other kinds of stuff too of my videos. And like I said, I talk to them randomly when, they get exclusive content, they get stuff from my shop, like all of this other stuff. But what I'm thinking is I could start, if you guys are interested, go, whoop, wrong side of the screen. Here's a pineapple. Go there, become a supporter. Just choose one of the ways, become a supporter. And if I see that people are interested and you guys start supporting off of this, in April, I'm thinking I could have people start applying, and I will do half of my supporter money to this fund. Half of my supporter money to this fund. And I know y'all like, well, why half? Well, why not half? Okay. Y'all know I got these medical bills. Y'all, I got a kid. I own 3 pediatric wheelchairs. Okay. I have a kit with medical bills that are often not covered. Okay, so I can't do it all. But if you guys are interested in supporting a fund where I actually let Black women just tell me their joy thing, and then we all just come together and we save for her, and then I give her the money so that she can create this joy thing, go to here'sapineapple.com, become a supporter on Patreon, on YouTube, or on Facebook. And if I see that people are interested, I will do half of my supporter money. And I believe I will start in April. Okay? I wanted to make sure I got that out. So it's on the screen. I'll put it here in the comments. Here's a pineapple.com. Hopefully I typed the right link. All right, you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me on this Friday for an hour and a half. I went a little bit longer than I wanted to. I hope that this helped you guys. If you are watching the replay, all the links still apply. And yeah, that's it. I will see you guys hopefully next week. I don't think I can go live on Facebook for a month because Facebook is a hater. So I'll see you guys on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, that's it. All right. Until the next video, be well, be encouraged. I have a lot of them, so I'll just point at this one. Here's a pineapple. And of course, my pineapple cup. Bye, y'all. Ease the tension.